My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Build a routine with Ollie that supports your wellness needs, like getting your daily vitamins and minerals with Ollie's multi-gummies, or keeping your mood upbeat with all the vitamin D in Hello Happy. Give your gut health some support with probiotics, and wake up feeling refreshed after taking Ollie Sleep. Do wellness on your terms. Find Ollie at a Walmart or Target near you or at ollie.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Welcome to I Don't Need an Acting Class with Milton Justice.
Milton, do you think teaching to do things from your own life is like some sort of mistranslated attempt to just help students understand how to let things land on them? And
well, look, here's the thing. Technique is very specific. It's like the forehand. It's like the backhand. Eventually, you're going to play tennis. But until you learn the backhand and until you learn the forehand, you can't play tennis. Now, I have no natural athletic abilities whatsoever. At all. And so when I took tennis, which I did off and on for many, many frustrating years, the tennis instructor always had to talk to me as if he was talking to a child that had very little intelligence. What eventually happened with me in tennis is people like playing tennis with me. They always win, but they feel like they got a good game because I learned the technique. Depending on what you're using yourself allows you to lose control, possibly. It also limits you. It limits you to your experience. I mean, I had an argument with somebody who was arguing that point once, and I said, how much have they lived, for Christ's sake? Most people do not have lives that are interesting enough to draw from. So that's one issue for me. And somehow or another, trying to force into a situation something that you might have done that you think might be like that is, I don't know, once in a while, maybe, sure, but it just seems to me that that's fighting what the play is about.
I always found it interesting as to when you use your life, so to speak, in the process. Now, if you start at the beginning and only looking at your life and you really kind of just do a perfunctory kind of view of the circumstance, that from your point, that is totally valid, makes sense. I find it interesting when you start to get into the circumstance and the details, and as you're in that, it reminds you of something in your life. Exactly.
Okay, but here is where we miss the boat. What we don't do is look at something in our lives and ask ourselves the question, and what did I do?
That makes sense.
I mean, that's the thing that I think it's like, I know what he's going through because I went through something similar. Well, first of all, that's probably not true. I would argue that point to begin with. But what you could do is look at it and say, when I went through that, when I had the similar circumstances, what did I do? Or maybe what did I feel? Or what was going on with me? I mean, I don't mind any of those words. But when you answer the question, what did I do? What I did was an action. I withdrew. I do it all the time. I don't know how to do these character classes. We'll figure it out, I promise. But character class, I always say to everybody, okay, pick up your chairs and move them to the other side of the room. And everybody picks up their chair and they move them to the other side of the room, and it is an absolute nightmare of noise. And then I say, all right, now move your chairs back where they were, but do it as if you're shy, which is, kind of my intro to character. And then I ask the question, what did you do? And it's a sneaky analysis of a character trait, how you analyze character. So if I said, what did you do? And the answer that I want is not a plot. The answer is an action. I pulled away. Periodically, people will say, and I looked at everybody around me. And so I said, so what are you doing? If you're looking at everybody around you, what are you doing? What is that you're doing? And so looking at everybody around you is different. Saving myself from meeting somebody, saving myself from people, pulling away from people. But you see what I mean? So then I can say, okay, now I understand that. The same thing, David, if I were doing it another way. If I say, yes, I understand being shy. So then I would say, where have I been shy? I was shy at the first Hollywood party I went to. And what did I do? And so
it's just like a contrived version of shy or whatever. Right?
Exactly. I wanted to know, what did I do? And so I thought, and I was thinking back on the time that I went to this party, and I looked around and everybody was there, and I went, holy shit, And so I went to the table that had the hors d'oeuvre table, and so and I became fascinated with the celery sticks. And so I realized, so what I did was to focus on something. And I even knew why. So that it would look like I had something that I was doing. And so therefore it didn't look like what was really good. But you see what I mean? It's like then I could do it. Also, the other place I go is, where have I seen it? And I translate it the same way. I was telling Jessica and Jonathan about my friend Craig Zaden, who, bless his heart, is dead. But he was a producer who failed upward all the time. I've never seen anybody fail upward the way he did. And I told him, I said, and also he kind of like lorded it over you. When I was nominated for a Golden Globe Award, he called me to tell me what a good time he had at the Golden Globes when he was nominated. Okay, and so, I mean, and I was in awe of him. Just in awe.
Didn't he also produce like the Academy Awards?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. He produced the Academy Awards. He eventually did all those live musicals. He found a niche for himself, but he did Footloose, and then the next 7 films he did were all flops. And yet I ran into him in the parking lot at a studio, And he said, "Oh, I have a deal here." And I thought, how do you have a deal here? I'm here begging. It's like I'm going here, please, sir, will you please make my movie? And you have offices and a staff. So, I mean, it was just fascinating. But it's such an interesting character trait. I'd love to play him.
But again, coming back to what you were saying earlier, so whether I think Stella also would say that the only time that you would possibly use your life is to figure out the nature of actions that you did in that situation, but you can't play feelings.
Well, yes, I would say, and no. I mean, but I would say mostly yes, that's true. I was an assistant. If I had to play an assistant in a film, I would go right to what is the nature of being an assistant. I know what the behavior is. Everything is organized perfectly.
How much is that an assistant, or are you already in character or into a character?
What's interesting, see, for me, Douglas, when I start talking about it, I become it.
My question is like, when you become it, is it because of, I mean, you must be drawing from your life, right?
Yeah. No, not really. I love human nature. Yes. I love human nature, and as a result, I watch human behavior all the time. And it's very seldom from my life. I always found me boring. And I was lucky. I've said this before. I was really lucky because when I was in high school, I was fat, and I always played character parts. So I never played me. There were no plays when I was in high school that were written for fat 16-year-olds. So I always played the father part, badly, but I always was playing a character. So I never played myself to begin with.
Flex your business with an American Express Business Gold Card. You'll earn 4 times membership rewards points on your top 2 eligible spending categories, like transit and electronics, each month, on up to $150K in combined purchases per year. Plus, you can now earn 3 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Terms and points cap apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold, built for business by American Express.
Oh, it's such a clutch off-season pickup, Dave.
I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
I meant those blackout motorized shades.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. I installed these and then got some for my mom. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Hall of Fame son.
They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Blinds.com is the GOAT.
Shop Blinds.com right now and get up to 40% off select styles, plus a free professional measure. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Maybe it's just a semantics thing then, because what I'm hearing you say is that there's a difference between, and what Douglas is saying too is like, in terms of the order of way that things happen, there's a difference between, okay, I went through a hard breakup too, where I had to leave my boyfriend, so I know what Nora's going through, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And like, focus on that. That's, obviously not the way to go, but eventually there's going to come a point, if I'm playing Nora, that something is going to affect me, and the way that it's affecting me is influenced by
who you are. Yeah, but I mean, there's nothing you can do about that.
Right.
I mean, the main reason that one of the things that we hope is that we keep growing as people.
That speaks to the fact that emotion memory is what we all possess, period.
Yes.
That's not the argument. The argument is like,
do you use it specifically in order to get to the effect you want?
Consciously use it over and over and then ignore the whole
play.
I've tried all that. It doesn't work. At least for me. That stuff doesn't work.
It doesn't work. I
either get out of control, Milton, like you said, or it just doesn't work. It just or doles out.
Yeah.
Goes away, and I can't use it anymore.
Yes. As Stella said, you go to therapy to deal with your problems, not acting class. And once you deal with them, then it's done.
I mean, isn't the whole point of the lovely method of physical actions to technically, and you can ask Ms. Carnegie, to technically release your emotional memory in a safe manner, so to speak?
Yeah, I mean, it's just too limiting.
If I can give an example, Milton. I'm working on a screenplay, and it's about somebody's daughter who passed away, and I just had a daughter 19 months ago. And if I use that, I can't. I would die. I would die. So it's like, that's how I know you can't do that. And I know there's a whole 7-year rule. Wait,
is
7
there?
years.
Oh, I had no idea. No, I'm telling you, I thought that when my father died, that I'd be out from underneath the mountain that he put over me, but he's been dead for 15 or 20 years and it's still there. There's no 7 years. But with a lot of it, I just say, look, I don't know, worry, don't worry, whatever. The fact of the matter is, if I start by analyzing the play and looking at the play and figuring out what is going on with the play, then it's like, I don't say, oh, that happened to me, which it didn't. A lot of things just peels off. I mean, you have you involved in it. Jed said this when we were working on something the other day about, was the character with a son? And you said back before you studied with me, you would have used your son.
Yeah, it was daughter.
Daughter, yeah. And so it's like, why? Why go there? How much more fun to create a daughter and a relationship with a daughter. It'll be in there.
It's like when Stella spoke about Ibsen and Nora throwing herself into that black water. She said, don't go to your own life and sense water. It's going to be there. Somewhere you know what ice is. Somewhere you know what water is. But it's more interesting to use your imagination, but it's going to be there. You can't escape it, but don't go to it specifically. To just...
Yes, I think that's a really important part of it. It's going to be there.
And also, like, if you keep going to the same sort of well, or whatever it might be, say you keep going to, say, my own son because I'm playing father parts, then all the parts you play are going to be very similar, aren't they? So there's not going to be any kind of...
Yes.
That's the kind of...
And I was going to say that, my relationship with my 15-year-old is different than even if there is a 15-year-old girl in the script and from those circumstances. So if we keep using the same thing, like you said, it'll just be you're playing the same part.
And Matthias said that in Germany, he said the casting directors are complaining that the actors are everything is the same. And of course, it's because of Ivana Chubbuck, who teaches a class saying, you're enough. So you work on you. And so everything is the same. You're absolutely right. It's like it's both things.
I agree with Jonathan. Sometimes when I'm working on something that I'm very perhaps fearful of actually using something that's like just too personal. So it does create some tension. It's like my not wanting to be too personal, right? In a way, blocks my creativity. So what I found is, so I do, and I've been doing this for a while, like I no longer look at the material and try to find something that resonates like identically, right, to my experience. I definitely don't do that. I've done it like many, many, many years ago, but what I know, like I have, it doesn't work. It doesn't work in the long run. But what I found is like, when I try to just not use it, I should not go there. It's really impossible because it does create more tension. So I agree with Jonathan because, creativity, what molds my creativity, it's really my personal experience, right? So I can create things based on my life experience. So I have lived plenty. Yes, I don't need to use a personal tragedy to get to a personal state that resonates with what the character has. No, but whatever I create, yes, feeds off from that experience that I have.
Yes, yes. I mean, you are an element in it. You can't take you out of it. I mean, it's kind of, I always keep thinking it's a non-conversation.
I think the heart of it is leaving yourself alone to allow whatever comes up to come up. Then what happens, and I know this for me, and I'm sure it's for some, is that you get either you fall in love with it, let's say, what comes up, or you fall in love with the idea of what you think should be there, and then you try to hold it and grab it, which is only based on fear in the first place of not getting something or some crazy stuff. And I also think the other thing is about, and I was just thinking about what you said, Jessica, about like, this feeling comes up and I'm worried about, is it? As far as I'm concerned, that to me says something about wanting to be right or wrong in a process as opposed to being in the process, period.
That is, I think, is so true. I was thinking about that as well. You're concerned about being right. Boyo, you do this. Boyo, by the way, sends me about 3-4 exercises a day. And what I realize has happened is if I say to him, you're talking so much, you're talking it away. So then the next time he sends one in, he doesn't talk enough. And so basically what he's doing, because he's a good boy, is that he's trying to do it right. I mean, this is the thing that I realized. Douglas did an exercise and I said, let's meet, because I want to talk to you about the exercise. Now, Douglas has worked constantly. I've seen his reel. I've made comments on his reel because, you can never make me happy. But the fact of the matter is there are different things that he needs to do than other people need to do. And you're always growing with it. We are trying to take step by step by step what it takes in order to accomplish this impossible thing.
I Don't Need an Acting Class is created and hosted by Milton Justice, produced by me, Walker Vreeland, and music is by Shagoi. I Don't Need an Acting Class is brought to you by weaudition.com, where you can sign up to be a virtual reader for auditions. You can also find a reader for a rehearsal or self-tape. It is the #1 resource for that purpose. And if you use the code Acting Class, you get 25% off, which makes it something like $10 a month. So check that out, weaudition.com. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you back here next time.